Welcome back. Well, this is the end of the court case between Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses sued Norway, the country of Norway, for their religious status. They mainly sued them for money. That was the opening statement, is about them getting their 50 million Norwegian dollars back. It's about 5 million US, something around there. 3 million, I'm not sure. I didn't do the math. But 50 million in Norwegian dollars is what they were asking for. We got a report here. Let me get it up on the screen here for you, show you, just give you a little bit of what's going on. Yesterday, the court case started with the state, and then they go through. The state talked for a bit. This is the very end of the trial. This is the last hour and a half of the trial. So then these guys get up. This is the JW lawyers, Risdale. So he's up here for a bit, and well, you can take a look at it here.
Det var nok en henvisning som vi nesten var inne på på side 2.
So it's kind of interesting. These guys butted in a couple of times, and I guess it's normal. We're going to look at an article here from Jan. He's kind of explained it all for us. So these guys have their tactics. And I guess this is normal procedure. They would interrupt the states. They're on a flow, just bang, interrupt them with some stupid little thing. The judge caught on, it looks like. Jan's going to talk about that. But that's why I'm playing the funny music, because those guys play funny tricks in court. And then the court case goes on here, and the state takes the scene here. And of course, I can't understand Norwegian, so we got this all taped. This is all going to be available. It's all being processed by YouTube. We've taped the whole court case, and we have about 4 videos per day. There was a couple of days of this, so there's going to be a few videos coming out. But the nice thing is, once the transcription is done by YouTube, these can be viewed anywhere in the world. So just turn your CC on, and it'll read out what they're saying. I'm looking forward to it. So that's coming 48 hours, YouTube tells us, so that's any day now. Hey, wait, haven't I heard that? Any day now? But it is on its way. Okay, so let's move forward. I'm going to pull up something here. Yeah, these are the posts. We're going to get into the posts from Jan. Thanks to Jan Frode Nilsen. And you can also get these posts on our Discord. Did I say that right? Discord channel. So the Discord channel is in the descriptions. This is what the Discord channel looks like. Join up. It's a closed community for XJWs. So you have to go through a process to get in. And the nice thing about this community is, well, there's announcements, so we'll have announcements, and we are announcing, lots of stuff. So you can make announcements, right? Then there's JW News. So we have a lot of JW News starting out, a lot on Norway, and then there's some interesting talks. This fella, if you haven't ever seen him, he's Neddy. No, this is another guy. But anyways, watch these ones. They're really good. We have some videos as well, top secret elders letters. We have general chat area where you can just go in and chat. So join up. It's free. There's no cost. It's for XJWs, so you don't have the trolls coming in, the Jehovah's Witness trolls, and putting all those nasty remarks in. This is a safe community for everyone to get to know each other. Now, that's part of it. Now, we're going to get into Jan, what he was saying here. And We'll go section by section here. Maybe I'll open that up on my bigger display here so you guys can read along with me. Jan Frode Nilsen. Yesterday, I wasn't able to comment on the state part. But now, yesterday actually started for them at 1 in the morning. So my good wife and I were up 1 in the morning recording all this. That's when yesterday started. That's about 8:55 in the morning. So he says, yesterday I wasn't able to comment on the state's part, but listened. Well, that was the other day. Yeah, he couldn't comment. So that's what he's referring to. But he listened to some of it in the evening. It was great. The state is calm and clear and have good arguments. Rips apart the Watchtower's diversion and lies about shunning and healing to watch. We got this. And he says, I always will be grateful for Liv and Kristen and their amazing work and also their kindness towards us all in this process. So there's a little, those are the two I guess he's talking about, those two ladies there, those two lawyers, Liv and Kristen. Okay, he goes on to say, starts to rip apart the JW's denial of the shunning, and he says the exceptions regarding special incidents that allow contact doesn't mean there is no shunning. Says the state and the JWs basically agree on how the shunning works. The point for the state is that there's a heavy burden on those who leave, and therefore the right to leave religion freely is breached. And that's so true only within the Jehovah's Witness religion. That's the only religion. And the state says their right to use Watchtower literature and instructions are clear. We'll get back to that. So, okay, so what else do we have? We'll get back to that. He talks about sexuality, queer, that anyone choosing to leave freely according to their sexuality will come with a heavy burden. And the rules they are bound by. But there will be harsh consequences according to family. And they're talking about the intentions in the law, in the comments, form, parliament, etc., while making it. And Risdell is grumpy. That's the JW lawyer. Always, he keeps interrupting with minor details. That's what we're saying. It seems like Risdell's plan today is to pick on minor details to get the state off their flow. What a tactic, eh? JW tactic. Talking about fear among Jehovah's Witness kids, not many are DF'd as minors, but the possibility of being DF'd are still there for a lot of minors. Yeah. Also, the process hits children. Yeah. Marking, bad dissociation. JC. Goes through all of us witnesses how the threat of shunning and being DF'd affected our youth, even as minors. Several witnesses talk about the judicial process before being 18. It's terrible. I've talked about that. Spreading information through the congregation, marking talks, etc., that affects minors for misbehaving is an abuse according to the law. Absolutely. Children need protection. And spreading information through the congregation, marking talks, etc., that affects minors for misbehaving is an abuse. That's like a principal just kicking a kid out of school and then going around the classrooms and marking him. Well, he'd get sued for discrimination. Can't do that stuff. Isolation of minors hurts their mental developments and connections that needs to be built up through a secure environment. Jehovah's Witnesses do the opposite. Using Numi's testimony here, also the testimony of No Name. And I think that's the end of that particular one. Now we're going to get into another post. These are all kind of broken up. And again, you can find these on our Discord page. Connection to family is a basic need for any child's mental health, says Carrie Hallistinson. The threat of losing this hurts the child development. The law says, and this is an important point to Jan saying, the law says that all religions must be supported equally. Risdell says that this means JW most get funding. State means that all religions must have equal rights to apply, not get it approved if they don't follow the terms. Quite simple. All the religions can apply for the funding, and if they don't qualify as a religion, they simply don't get the funding. That's really all the state's fighting here. Okay. The state shows that there's nothing in the Constitution that says there can be no terms at all for funding OFC. There's nothing in the Constitution. And the intention has always been to set some terms for taxpayers' payout. Like, why would a taxpayer want to have to know that their part of their tax money on the religious end of it is going to the Jehovah's Witness religion? They shun children. Why would you want that, right? Okay, so the next one here. Once again, Risdale interrupts with a minor detail, how that really isn't relevant. And Liv seems to be a bit irritated. That's the lawyer that you see in the picture there, right up there, with the nitpicking on the irrelevant details. So she has to stop her argument. Now stay calm now. Don't let him get to you. That's what Jan's saying. Jan's pretty calm about this stuff. I get a little riled up. But you have to be calm in court. And if you got riled up, like we do sometimes online, you can't do that. They'll kick you out. And it discredits you, really. So it's good to stay calm. Even though the other side's lying through their teeth. Just let them lie. It's going to bury them. They're actually burying themselves by lying. Now, Jan goes on to say, go through the ECHR verdicts JW/Risdale have used, how they are irrelevant for this case. So yeah, Risdale keeps bringing up all these other case laws around the world as a distraction, just to fill time in or something, to show how they won all these cases. So, And Liv is the lawyer for the state. She's doing a great job. She's pregnant, almost ready for labor, still has the power to run over the Watchtower Corporation. Calm and steady with valid points and no need for lies or diversions at all. We got this. Excellent. Nice set of... nice reassurance, Jan. Okay, the next post here is... this one. He says, we're back to going through the ECHR. That's the European Council of Human Rights or something. Their verdicts. I'll not write much about this. At one point, we have a long, detailed verdict going through all this. Will be translated and made available for you. And that's what's happening. YouTube's just getting the transcript put together. You guys will be able to see the whole court case uninterrupted. I'm not coming on. We're just playing the court case. No monetization, so there should be no commercials. And you can just watch these court cases and watch the transcript. And you get an idea what's going on in the court. It's kind of nice that we're able to see all this. Jan says, valid points, all agrees that you cannot exercise pressure to force someone to change a religion. But can you then be allowed to use extensive force to exercise pressure to stop someone from leaving a religion? Good point. See, Jehovah's Witnesses are getting tackled from different angles. And the court systems around the world, they've been watching. They know their maneuvers, and their maneuvers is the same as they do in the Watchtower. In the Watchtower, they say Satan, 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 Satan. Evil, evil, and apostates. Satan and apostates are all in bed together. That's what our biggest enemy is. They even brought that out in court here. Really, really sad to see that. They can't stand up and say, yeah, we made a few mistakes. Our old Elders book was crap. We're trying to fix it. And we're going to throw away the new Elders book because it's crap too. That's what they have to do. But they're not doing it. They're standing on this ground of freedom of religion, and we have human rights. The human rights say we have freedom of religion, and you guys, the state, are interfering, so give us our money. That's what this is about, money. Jan says, valid point, all agrees you cannot exercise pressure to force someone to change a religion. So, what does the Watchtower do? Next article, next post. Jan says, what Risdell does is break in and ask her to clarify minor details deep in the material, mostly references, things that are often irrelevant. Sneaky tactics, but OFC allowed. He knows exactly why he does this. Just slick, eh? Lawyers, this is what happens. The judge can see the tactics, not doing themselves any favors by being annoying and irrelevant. Contrast behaviors. Isn't that true? Okay, next post. Next post here. The state has room for considering how the funding shall be organized. Yeah, absolutely. If you see this, the taxpayers' money, I bet you if you did a vote with all the taxpayers in Norway and had them check a box, do you want any of your tax money going to Jehovah's Witnesses? I bet you they'll all say no. Like, that would be a good way to do it. Throw it in on a survey. Let the people speak. Do that all over the world. The state has room for considering how the funding shall be organized. It has to be the same for all religions. They can't have different terms for Christian groups than Muslim groups, etc. And this means that equal treatment is secured by the fact that all religions have to meet the same terms. Exactly. It's just like passing a driver's test. You know, when you get your driver's license, everyone has to meet the same test, pass the same terms. And this does not mean that all religions can ignore the rules and demands and still get their money. Say it again for those in the back. Exactly. This does not mean that all religions can ignore the rules and demands and still get their money. Is that slow enough for those that can't read between lines? Okay, this one, we'll blow this one up. It's a long one. Jan says, talks about freedom of parent regarding what they choose for their child. Will always at some point have to put up against a child's right to protection and integrity when those go up against each other. And your right to swing your fists freely will always have to be considered against my nose's right to not be broken. Jan says, the state says that JWs are free to decide the rules for memberships. The state says that JWs are free to decide the rules for memberships. They are free to deny gay people in there, deny those who disagree by members, deny people to vote and then be a member. But a crucial point then is to let people leave freely. Let people leave the organization freely without having to lose their families and friends. You know, we think of the Bible. They brought up the Bible in this court. Why not the Ten Commandments? The fourth command is honor your parents. How can, if parents are shunned on the outside, how can the children fulfill that command? You see, Watchtower comes right in and says, no, you're not under the Ten Commands. And that's how they get around this. Jan says they cannot have these strict rules at the same point punish harshly those who don't want to live under those strict rules. Exactly. And there are also rules on how a religion can apply pressure and force against their members. They cannot just do whatever they want. They are free to create their rules, not an issue here. Rules in itself is not part of the case, only the actions. Improper actions, undue influence are not allowed. Lots of EC, European HR verdicts on this. Oh, good, excellent. Rematrimonial privilege, their religious ceremony is not broken. Can be done. It's only a civil, legal aspect of the matrimony that has to be adjusted. And that is the state's right to set those rules for legal handling. And lunch break. Not the huge roller coaster of emotions today, mostly legal considerations built on the European, the ECHR verdicts. He says he listens the rest of the day, but I won't be able to live tweet, just listen. We'll get back to the notes and comments if something special happens. And thanks for following this journey, says Jan. He says, I'll try to go dark and offline as much as possible this week and much as needed. I need to clear my head. Could you imagine, eh? Imagine the pressure being in that courtroom. Now, this is a post, and thanks, Larchwood. Thanks for getting that out to us, to the XJW community. We are all watching, and we are all rooting for you. Okay, now this is from Larchwood. A lot of you know Larchwood. And Larchwood got some of the costs. The judge asked for the costs on this court case, so here it is. JWs versus Norway. They want to know how much the JWs Watchtower paid out for this trial alone. 1,100 hours on lawyers, guys. 1,100 hours on lawyers. They're complaining about money. Well, they're going after money. That's the first thing they're going after. So if they don't get the money, I don't know. Watchtower's... I think they thought they were going to get the money. That's why they put $500,000 into this. It says Risdale's fees alone was $600 per hour. That's $6,100 of the Norwegian NOK dollars per hour. That's what they pay them. And you see, they got to pay these guys off scene, doing all this stuff, doing all the investigation. There's a lot of work going to court. And if you lose, you have to pay, typically you have to pay the other guy's court fees. So if they lose, maybe they should be paying the state's court fees if they lose. The total was $450,000 US. They had to admit their expenses to the court. So that's interesting. There's where your donations money's going, folks. Now, in the US, that Matt Haverstick, he can be upwards of $2,000 an hour. I did the research on him. He's the Catholic lawyer for the diocese, and he brings in a team also. He doesn't... the Watchtower will have one of their peon lawyers here, but Watchtower can't do this. They have no credits. They sent in that guy from their freedom of worship area. What did he have? The judge asked him, and he was a tradesman. So it's kind of interesting, how this stuff comes out. But the judge asked him. He was a tradesman. What does that mean? A window washer? That's the guy from Germany. We talked about him yesterday. He's a tradesman. If the judge asked one more question, what trade are you in? Electrical or, plumbing? The guy looks around. I'm a window cleaner. That's what a lot of JWs are, window cleaners, unfortunately. They get online and say, yeah, we got doctors and we got lawyers and we got... Well, you get removed if you do higher education. So we're going to see it all. This court is so interesting to see how the lies come out. And they just give us apostates a lot of information to work with. Makes our job a little bit fun. But it's crazy. It's crazy what we see happening here. So that's about it, folks. That brings an end to that. Okay, so I think that brings our show to an end.
Honey, I'm very sorry to interrupt you. Please check the news updates. There's a couple articles
regarding Norway?
Yeah, that's
okay, well, just hold on, folks. I'm going to pause you, and we'll be right back. It just never ends. We just got a recent summary from two people, and so you noticed I changed my thumbnail here to the trial summary. So we're going to read it. We're going to include it here on this broadcast, and we're going to get right into it. The first one is from Ron Pomo. A lot of you know Ron Pomo, and thanks to Ron Pomo out there for really doing a lot of work for this community. Thank you very much. So we're going to read through this. Ron says, done in court, Jehovah's Witnesses want to frame this as a case of religious persecution. He nailed that. Standing on opposite sides, this is how they experienced the trial. Conclusion. On Friday, the parties went their separate ways in the Oslo District Court after the 2-week dispute between the state and Jehovah's Witnesses. Ben Elder and Jan, Frode, Nilsen have followed the case from different sides. So remember Ben Elder, he's the guy, well, it says here, Ben Elder is a legal counsel for Jehovah's Witnesses, and Jan Frode Nilsen is a former member of the organization and was himself summoned as a witness for the state. On Friday, the parties made their closing statements, and this is by your Hilstad Devet. I don't know, sorry if I butchered your name, but thank you very much for this, published. Here it is. On Friday, the parties made their closing statements in the trial between Jehovah's Witnesses and the state in the Oslo District Court. The court has now withdrawn, and the case has been taken up for judgment. Vartland has spoken to two of those who have followed the case closely this week from different sides. Jan Frode Nilsen is a former member of this organization and was himself summoned as a witness for the state. And Ben Elder is a legal advisor at the European Association of Jehovah's Witnesses for the Protection of Religious Freedom, an organization that works against the judiciary and public authorities to defend the interests of the religious community. Jan Frode Nilsen says that it has been difficult to follow Jehovah's Witness procedures in recent days. It is presented as if everything you have experienced and the history you carry with you is only inside your own head, he says. He says that he is primarily surprised at how far Jehovah's Witnesses go in denying that there is a set doctrine on how excluded should be treated. At the same time, he feels that the religious community's lawyers waver on this question. In one moment, they admit that there is a practice. In the next, they say they don't. Actually, I think there should be no doubt about what is the fact, and that the interesting question is the legal one. There's a picture of Jan. He has been the state's witness in this court. International attention. Regardless of the outcome, Nilsen believes that there is much to be learned from this case. That is why it is also followed very closely by ex-witnesses all over the world, he says. By claiming there is no correct practice and that it is up to each individual member to decide how to deal with the excluded members, Nilsen believes that Jehovah's Witnesses have made statements that will have international significance. And there's a link to this story here. And I'll post these two stories in the descriptions below on this video. And you can go to that link and read some more on that if you wish. And he goes on to say they have squeezed the toothpaste out of the tube, and they will never be able to put it back. And there is nothing we want more than that. And he also says what emerges in court runs completely counter to what emerges in the Watchtower and the Jehovah's Witnesses' own magazines and videos and all the videos we've seen in court. And that is why they want to shield Jehovah's Witness publications from the presentation of evidence, and says that they are sacred texts. So are they saying that when you go onto the internet that's open to the whole world and you watch these little Sophie and Caleb videos, that's sacred text? Well, that's what they're saying, sacred text that the state cannot interpret, and it is because they know what is written there. Yeah, the Jehovah's Witnesses know what is written there. So for us, a question of credibility. Who is telling the truth? After all, we are portrayed as a few disgruntled activists. Then it is clear it will be personal. Self-therapeutic. For him and other ex-witnesses, it is not primarily about winning in court, says Nilsen. According to him, whether Jehovah's Witnesses lose state support is a trivial matter. Many of those who have testified in court have never told their story in that way before, he says, that this in itself had great significance. And he also says that he and other ex-witnesses have found it strange to hear how Jehovah's Witnesses present themselves as a vulnerable minority. And because on an individual level, we are the ones who have been the minority. Individuals in the face of a worldwide organization has billions on its books and millions of members. It probably has trillions on its books, by the way. Nilsen also says that he thinks the government lawyers have done a good job. And according to him, they have remained calm and resisted what he sees as a strategy of obfuscating and confusing by highlighting irrelevant points and examples. And Jehovah's Witnesses want to angle this as a matter of religious persecution. There, I feel that the lawyers have been good at saying, relax. It's not about that. It's about a state support scheme. It's about money. That's my words. Not aware of the other cases, Ben Elder has been a witness for Jehovah's Witnesses and says that the organization he represents is often a third party in the European court cases. They also work to spread understanding of the challenges Jehovah's Witnesses face among public actors and human rights actors. And they have followed the case between the state and Jehovah's Witnesses in Norway since it started in 2022. Is the case unique in the European context? Yes and no. Similar accusations have been made in the past. What is unique, however, is how far it has gone and that the registration as a religious community has already been withdrawn. That's what's unique. And I don't think that has happened in any other European country so far. It is new waters for us, and to be honest, we were very surprised by the state administrator and the ministry's decision. According to Elder, the organization sees increasing activity among so-called anti-cult organizations in Europe. According to Elder, these are organizations that have been created with the purpose of attacking religious minorities by claiming they are second-rate religions and harmful to society. That's what the Jehovah's Witness claims. Now, the same rhetoric is repeated in every country with exactly the same wording. This is the guy, Ben Elder, raised as a Jehovah's Witness, window washer trade. I think he's a window washer. Put in your comments what you think he is. Maybe some of you actually know what he does. Maybe he is an electrician or a plumber. No, he doesn't have plumbing hands. Look at his hands. Those are not electrician hands. Those are not plumber's hands. Those are not carpenter's hands. Those are not tradesman's hands. Look at his hands. Those are pretty clean hands. Those hands wear plastic gloves. He's a window cleaner. My opinion. Now, Ben Elder is the legal advisor for the European Association of Jehovah's Witnesses for the protection of religious freedom and has followed the case in court together with Jehovah's Witness lawyers. He believes the state has weak evidence. When asked if he is confident that the court will take their side, Elder replies that he is confident that the case is based on solid legal arguments. But when it comes to the outcome, everything depends on what the judge chooses to emphasize, he says. I'm going to pause it there just for a second. Okay, this is the scene when he just finished his talk. This is Ben Elder here. And we'll just let it run through a bit. They're just done here. They're all going to get up. I'm gonna get off the screen so you guys can kind of see how these guys are. Let me see here. Right here, they're all done. Okay, right there. So if you look at the faces there, this is how confident they feel right here. And they're pretty happy, they're pretty confident. That's right after Ben Elder gave his big summary. Like, look at them. They're glowing. The whole side is glowing. They feel they have this thing wrapped up. And this is after they did their case, right? So the state still hadn't spoken yet. So we get into when the state speaks, then we have Risdale, this bald guy here, interrupting just to break their pace. Like just strategy, right? So this is what goes on in the courtroom. So back to the article here, it says, when asked if he is confident that the court will take their side, Elder replies that he is confident that the case is based on solid legal arguments. But when it comes to the outcome, everything depends on what the judge chooses to emphasize, he says. Do stories that have come out in ex-witness statements make an impression on you? Yes, of course. When people have bad experiences and are mentally ill, it's a terrible situation to be in. But to say that this is due to our religion, that's where we struggle a bit. Bennett Elder says. He also says that the state has not produced evidence for one of its main arguments, namely that the organization excludes minors, and in that way exercises psychological violence against children. I thought they had people up on the stand for that, but the only evidence the state has presented that minors are excluded was one case nearly 30 years ago. That's what he's saying. Here's a Jehovah's Witness saying this stuff in court. If that's all, then it's too little to say it's a big problem. So now the subheading, integrated into society. But even if you vouch for the fact that these are individual stories and that legally there is nothing to complain about, do you think that you could still do something about how you treat former members so that fewer had bad experiences? It's a good question, and I feel it was answered by the religious community when the state administrator said that Jehovah's Witnesses must change their practice in order to get support. We can't, because it's based on our understanding of the Bible and our strong conviction about what it says, Elder replies. And he adds that the organization will naturally comply with national legislation, but that he is confident that the current legislation is on their side. You are often called a closed religious community. What do you think about it? Personally, I think it's ridiculous, but we often hear that. Yes, we do not live in isolation. We have TV, internet, and participate in community life. BS. Compared to many other religious communities, Elder believes that Jehovah's Witnesses are very integrated in society. Again, no, they aren't. He goes on to say, we send our children to the same schools as everyone else, but they can't do higher education. We are your neighbors and your colleagues, but you are of the devil. You're the world. And even stand on your doormat. We know you're of the devil. We're trying to save you when we're on your doormat. And on Saturday mornings, we stand on the street corners. We know everyone is of the wicked world, but we're trying to save them. And he says with a smile, now I threw in a lot of my own words. You guys could read it. So the verdict is expected to be ready in about 2 weeks. So that's the end of article. Now we're going to jump over to the next article. And this article is from Jan Nilsen. So the witnesses against Jehovah's Witnesses. The witness against Jehovah's Witnesses is heartbreaking. Jehovah's Witnesses have sued the Norwegian state after they lost their state subsidy in 2021. Jan Frode Nilsen from Risør has testified against his former religious community during the trial, currently underway in Oslo District Court. This is the picture that we see in the Watchtower magazine. Okay, so the case is being heard in Oslo. That's the district court. The trial has been ongoing in Oslo for almost 2 weeks. The dispute concerns whether Jehovah's Witness practice of expelling members is a violation of the Religious Communities Act. And the state says yes, well, Jehovah's Witnesses acknowledge that they practice expulsion, but that it is up to each individual family to decide whether to have contact with those who have left the religious community. And we all know that's a lie. It's the biggest lie out there. It's not up to the family. We all know that. It's kind of nice. I'm just pausing it here, but it's kind of nice that they made this stand, because now for anybody that's kind of on the fence as a Jehovah's Witness and they're looking at this, they can see the blatant lies that they do in court. It's just blatant. So anyways, let's carry on. They say it's up to each family member to decide. So other than that, the only other thing I would say to a Jehovah's Witness is highlight this and go start talking to apostates and disfellowship people, and bring that back to your elders meeting and say, there you got it. It's right out of elders' mouth. Like, use this to build your case against the religion itself, because this tells me that this religion is changing the way they expulse, the way they disfellowship, the way they shun, based on what I've seen all the way through this court case. So you could actually use this as an argument if you're in the organization to allow you to go and talk to family members without getting disfellowshipped and shunned. You could take these guys up the ladder for this. And I think everyone out there should. They should highlight this and use it. And again, it'll be in the descriptions below. This is from a news agency, Fartland or something. Okay, in an email to this fella here, Jordan Peterson, spokesman for Jehovah's Witnesses in Scandinavia, writes the following: "It's up to the individual members of the congregation based on his or her personal religious conscience to apply biblical injunction, cease associating with former members." So there it is again. If it's up to you personally, then you can go and talk to disfellowship people, and you're not going to be harmed anywhere in the world. So this changes it, folks. Shun no more 2024. That's what this seems to be saying to me. Jehovah's Witnesses are changing their rule book for themselves right here in the court of Norway. So I think everyone out there should put this to the test and start talking to all the former members. Everyone around the world. Put it to the test. And then let's see what this religion does. And then let's see everything come out in the woodwork. Okay, so the elders of the congregation do not monitor the personal lives of those in the congregation as if they were police, nor do they exercise control over the faith of the individual of Jehovah's Witnesses. So, okay, for all of you guys out there that are just sick and tired of staying in there because of fear, you're not going to get shunned no more, leave. And they're saying if you want to go online and learn some other truths, you're allowed to. This is what this is telling me. They do not police you. If you want to go online or go to another church for that matter, they do not police you. You can. They've changed the rules, folks. The new elders book is right here in the Norway court system, in my opinion. This is it. This has been clearly confirmed by the testimonies in the Oslo District Court on Wednesday. So this is like testimony. They've changed their religion. They're trying to, but they're saying it in court. They're trying to say that's the way it's always been, but we all call BS on that. We all know that that's not right. So now, let's put it to the test. Here's final remarks. Jehovah's Witness Bible-based practice of exclusion has been considered by high courts around the world, including Argentina, Belgium, Canada, England, Germany, Ireland, Italy, Japan, Poland, South Africa, and the United States. All of these higher courts have consistently ruled that this religious practice is perfectly legal and that it does not encourage discrimination. So the courts all over the world have been fooled by the legal practice of Jehovah's Witnesses. And I think they were just doing quicker court cases. Like in Canada here, it was a 3-hour court case, Supreme Court of Canada, Wall was there. And the problem is, if you've been disfellowshipped for fornication or something like that, or adultery, which is no one's business, really, that all comes out in court. And then they make you look like a really bad guy. So now what has to happen is the ones that have walked away for many years and they chase after them and then they just beat them up, disfellowship them for whatever they're doing, or they don't disfellowship them, they demonize them. They outcast them so that everyone, not even friends, daughters, families, will talk to them. You see, Jehovah's Witnesses now have to be taken to court for that stuff. Then they have nothing they can hold against you. You go to court, nothing. You've walked away. I wanted to learn about my indigenous uproots when I left, and they chased me down 8 years later and demonized me for that. Why? Still hasn't come out. That has to come out. So yes, this is a big thing all over the world. It's just starting to come out. I think now's the time that we have to start talking about it. But it looks to me, folks, like the rules have changed. And if you're PMO sitting on the fence, use this court case as an example, and or go see your elders. Say, this is what they're saying in court. I'm going to go talk to it's conscientious now. That is advocated in the Supreme Court of Norway. And elder speaks for the whole world, especially for the European ones. But Jehovah's Witnesses rules are the same all over the world. So if it's okay in Norway, It should be okay in Canada, the US, Australia, everywhere else. It should be okay. So, yeah, let's advertise this. Let's get it out. Well, thanks again, folks. Thanks for sticking around to listen to all this. And again, the unadulterated versions of the court cases are coming out as soon as YouTube puts the captions on them. They'll be on our channel. We have a separate playlist. If you go to our channel, Fixing My Faith, you'll see a playlist called Norway. And in there will be all of these files. And you can watch the whole court case right from the start to the finish. And that'll be available to anybody in the world because those captions, you just turn on the captions and you can watch this around the world. Okay, so that's the end of the news today. I think we got all the last minute stuff. Well, until next time, folks, keep living your day with love. Bye for now.